Hey Regina, how you do? I just completely did a feedback session and I forgot to turn on the microphone. But let's try this again. It makes it a little easier because I know what I'm going to say this time. First of all, second option. First one's interesting, has this very pathetic French black cinema feel to it, but I tend to agree with what other people said, that it's nice to have something awful happen to a person at the end and doink at the end. So just quickly through my notes, just main things is to go back to your force notes, the Matthew Matese, and to understand the way things when they break. Now you've done this quite a few times, and I just want to just quickly go through the points where I think that it's working and where it's not working, and two basic rules which I think you need to follow. The first one is when something is pulling against the character and the character is being pulled and is not reacting or trying to go against that, that's something that I would look at first. And secondly, when there's actually an effort from the character to pull back. And there's a few instances of that as we go through your piece, so I just want to draw your attention to those ones. So here he's putting force upon the umbrella, so we get the break at the point of force, which is his elbow. And so he can be pushing up into his elbow, that's fine, that works really well. Here he's also exerting force, so the point of exertion goes down to his elbows, that goes back, and so that all reads perfectly there. But as soon as he is no longer in control, it's really important to keep the tangent happening there. So here I haven't quite got it happening there. I'd suggest that you re-angle your umbrella so that it flows through the body, so that you get this continuous line of force right down to your point of maximum contact, which is this heel here. And the same thing here, he's not in control, so you want to make sure that either the umbrella is adjusted to go with that tangent, or alternatively you would want to adjust the arm a little bit just so that we get a midway between the two, so that that line, you really feel that it's pulling up into there and it's not breaking throughout the arm. And also just to be aware of popping, you've done it a couple of times here when you overstretch the rig. You can actually set the rig as a stretch option if you do need to overshoot the legs, just so that you don't have these mysterious Martian ankles that just pop up here, these invisible ankles. Because there's a few places you've done it, and I think that you just go into the hand, there's an option to hang stretch, and you can just make it as long as you want. I use that heaps of times, mainly for character mods. So here as well, he's not in control, so what do? You want the umbrella to be a tangent. Here he's not in control, so you want to maintain your tangent as well. You can see that that actually does end up kind of working. You have to work towards the spacing of it, but as long as you get that happening. Now what's going to happen, it almost happened, but he's still being pulled. Now we've got a different situation where he's still being pulled, but now he's opposing with one leg. So the break is here in the hips. So now we still have that same line of action going through here, line of force rather, through the whole body, and then it hits in the hip, and the hip goes back down into the ground. So you've got two lines of force, one coming up like that, and one coming down into that plane of the hips. Same thing here, we've got a very strong reaction of force back from the ground into the hip, into the ground, and this is beautiful here, that comes in straight. You've got a very clean line of action, line of force, same thing. So as long as the character's under force, that all goes back there, so that the foot comes down, the leg goes down into the foot comes down into the ground at the point of a maximum force. And it's all right through here, this is all good. It's a little bit broken there, not easy to tell here, but when we start to get off the ground, this is all good, this is fine. Now what I would tend to do here, if that line comes down through your hands, down through to the elbow. So that forearm is still going to be in line with the umbrella, but the bicep is flexed, and that's what's giving it that reaction to that force. So his two little legs are up here and whatever they're doing down there. But we do have this strong feeling of connection and tangency between the forearm and the umbrella stalk. And we feel that change in the force at the elbow. So to have the elbow angled a little bit differently is going to help you expressing the force a bit better. So same here, have the umbrella coming down, the hands coming to the elbow, and a feeling that he's in control, that there's some expression of his control over the whole thing. Here it's not quite so important. I think that you've pretty much established it. You've got a good line going through to here, so that's good. And that's all good. Here as well. Now, it just depends on what you want to do here, because here the tangency is not 100%, but you can fix it by maybe looking like he's lifting his elbows above, which still feels like he's in power, but we maintain this important visual relationship between the stalk, the handle of the umbrella, and his arms. So you may want to do this. That might be an interesting idea, to flow through that tangency there, and maybe put the elbows out to the side a little bit, perhaps. And then when he's definitely no longer in control, we've got a good line through there. That's working fine. Now, here, if this is the line that you want, again, you can do that thing where he's, I'm not sure if that works so well, either that or maybe yeah, it's hard to say exactly what's going to go on there. If you're pulling on it, I do think that it will still, there's going to be some, definitely the umbrella is much more in control here than he is. So if you want to show that the umbrella's in control, that's fine. Otherwise, you'll have to have something inside there which says that that he's in charge, and it's hard to show there, because if he's going to be pulling on that, you're not going to get that shape unless he really twists his wrists down, because that is it's hard to really be strong. To be strong, you can't have your wrists bent, because there's no strength through the arm like that. So it's your call as to how you want to interpret that one, but I think at the moment it perhaps doesn't read as well as it could, even if it meant just lowering the wrists and making those slightly. To have the umbrella in control would mean simply that you'd just be going straight through to the elbow, the shoulder. Now again, same sort of deal here. I don't know what would work better, whether you would want to do something like that. Because he really is pulling, and that direction of the pull can't be too far off the line of the umbrella. So if you want to go that way, that's fine. I'm probably labouring my point now, but you get the general idea that I think that it needs to be a little bit more forceful. So when you do this sort of thing, I can see what you're doing with that, and if he's under force here, now what would happen is that this would be a little bit further down, and that's going to help you in this stage, because what happens here is there, and we can make that S shape happen better if we bend those elbows into that shot. So here he's kind of trying to do that, and we're preempting that shape, so that when we get to here, we definitely have that shape flowing through the body, which I think is a really nice graphic shape that you want to take advantage of, so that it continues through here. Because he's definitely lost it. And that just helps that final shape as he hits the ground to come up. Now with this, we can assume that the wind is kind of generally in this direction, not necessarily in one particular way, and that's fine, that would do that. What I think you should do is at this very moment here, and from 126, the next frame, have the umbrella close shut, and if you can't close it shut enough, just let me know and I'll see what I can do to change the rig. But if you do change it shut like that, and then you've got this arc happening down like this onto his head, and then it bounces off to the side. What I was thinking might be perhaps better, because that's the thing which grabs me, this is the thing I don't really like as much. It might be better if at this stage you have it blown shut and then have the wind kind of pick it up and have it rotating around, kind of jostling around the head, nice little antique. Maybe not so much, because here we're almost ready to go. Just go back. So it just goes up, over, around, and then starts its descent. I mean, you do a better job with this than me, but the idea is that it would come down and then do what you did before, which was to have it come down. Something like that. But I just feel that the way it's coming up, you could probably do something like that. And that way, it doesn't kind of mysteriously float hot like that. It makes sense where it's doing, and it's going up and comes in, then falls down his head. Work with the spin, probably make the spin go maybe 10, 15 more, or 5, 6 more frames longer. And remember the Chuck Jones rule about painful falls on a 12 frame per second, well, for 2D animation. 14 frames is the funny fall, so if you want to hold something up, hold it for 14 frames. 15 if it makes it feel weak. 12 frames makes it feel unpleasantly aggressive. So what you want to do is hit the middle, so in this case it would be 24 frames is the perfect fall. When working at 24 frames per second, 25 to 26 would feel too soft, and 22 to 23 or 21 would probably feel too aggressive. So there you go, that's all I really want to talk about. Hope that makes some sense. Enjoy yourself, nice to talk to you, and I'll see you around.